I'm sitting on over a $15,000 stack. You may be asking how the hell I got here. Well, this session will go over it in its entirety and how I came up with one of the biggest wins in my poker career. That and a massive $70,000 pot we witnessed between Mariano and Dentist Dave. So much more is yet to come. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But for now, enjoy the show. Not enough, you folded actually.
But I wasn't sure if the dirty diaper was as believable as 7-9. Because I've showed 7-9 a bunch tonight.
I thought you for sure had. I was honestly like, I might suck out. Like counterfeit you or hit an ace.
Take your chips back, I'll play the big one.
We don't even have a chance to get settled in before I'm already fighting for my poker life. I raised to $100 here. We're playing 10, 20, 40 with the 80 coming on pretty regularly. And I raised to $100 here with Jack 10 of diamonds. I'm under the gun. We're playing 5 or 6 hand at this point. The table is yet to fill. Mariano's to my left and decides to 3-bet to 300 from the cutoff. Everyone folds and the action's back to me. This is a really good hand. It feels like, you know, probably a good idea to just go post flop with it. But in the exact moment, I feel like I've kind of got to shake the cobwebs off me. I'm playing somewhere in the neighborhood of about a $4,500 stack to get things going. And look, I don't think that I can ever credibly tell you to put in like 30% of your stack and fold, but hey, I'm probably going to have to do it. I'd rather lay down the law early and not get run over the entirety of the session. And hey, I mean, it's Jack 10 of diamonds. Even if we get called, is it that bad post flop? I make it a $1,200 4-bet, looking to lay down the law. And luckily for us, Mariano eventually folds. So luckily there, pick up a nice small pot early, but getting ourselves heading in the right direction. In the second hand of note, there's an $80 double straddle on, and Mariano is the character that decides to do such a thing. There are 3 limps when the action folds to me in the straddle, and I like down a king deuce of diamonds. Probably not the best thing to just limp in here and allow a solid player like Mariano to just isolate us, but hey, you know, when in Rome. I throw in the 40 bucks to complete, and luckily for us, Mariano is going to let us live. And we're going off to a flop like 5 ways. It comes ace, ace, 3 with 2 diamonds. With the action checking over to me from both blinds, I now have a spot here where I can consider betting here or checking. I decided to just throw out a small bet for 140, looking to get hands that have equity against us to fold. We don't want to continue going 5 ways off to a turn and have no idea what we're doing. And luckily for us, everyone folds. So a couple wants to get our wits about us, and we're feeling a little more confident. Once again, we have another pot where we find ourselves battling for the blinds. As the button raises to 120, the small blind decides to call, and I'm here in the big blind with 8-5 of diamonds. Yeah, not a very good hand, but I mean, to be fair, we can't just be up here knitting it up and folding every hand. You know what? A suited like 15 gapper, good enough. I throw in the 120. The straddler calls as well. We're going 4 ways off to a flop that comes queen, 8, deuce, 2 spades, and a diamond. With the action checking through here, it makes me feel a little more confident in my hand, although I'd not be putting out a bet on the turn. And that turn comes out the 3 of hearts. It shouldn't change a whole lot here. If I had the best hand on the flop, I'd assume that I have the best flop on the best hand on the turn. At this point, Dave decides to lead out for 300. The action's on Mariano, and he thinks about it for a second and decides to call. The initial raiser folds here. We're going 3 ways to a river card that comes the 6 of clubs. If for some reason one of our opponents had a hand like 4-5, which is, I think, fairly credible, that hand now gets there. But the one thing to consider is that the spade draw does break out. At this point, with the action check to me, I have nothing to do here besides play my hand like a check evaluate. Although it is tough to be good here if Mariano bets, which he does. He bets 1,600. And the small blind ends up folding, I'm going to be put in a tough spot where I might have to consider hero calling on this river. But luckily for us, it won't really come to it as Dave decides to call here. And with the action on me, we have the easiest fold of our life here. Don't need to look up 2 players. Obviously, we're behind one of these gentlemen. I put my hands into the muck, and Mariano shows queen, 3 of clubs. So he has 2 pair there, played it really well, sneakily, just smooth calling the turn and getting the max on the river. More hands, which means more shenanigans to go over. Under the gun raises to 100. I'm on the button, and after it folds to me, we look down at ace queen off. This is a really nice hand for obvious reasons, but we get to squeeze and make, looks a little bluffy here from the button. Looks like we could be stealing it in position, and we have a good hand. We 3-bet to 300. Unfortunately for us, Mariano has other plans as he decides to 4-bet to 800. The action is now on the straddle, who decides to cold call the 800. The initial raiser folds, and with the action back to me, I have about 4,500 in my stack currently. This is kind of a bit of a predicament. I think calling here would be fine sometimes. The problem here is that this pot has ballooned up. I am getting a good price to just call here. I honestly don't mind just folding it or going all in and playing aggressive and turning my hand into an obvious bluff. Mariano is definitely a good enough player to have bluffs in this spot. 4 bets won't always be the nuts. And obviously, considering how snug I think my opponents think I'm playing, it'd be really likely that we can get a slightly better hand to fold. I don't think I'm ever getting ace, king, kings, queens to fold, or aces obviously, but I think there's a small chance that I can get a hand like tens and jacks to fold, and that's pretty great. I get to remove a hand that has me beat. And the other thing that I have to worry about is that the straddler who cold called has kind of a capped range as well. I don't think I have to worry about the straddler protecting his cold calling range by cold calling a hand like aces here ever. I don't think he has as good as ace king. I don't think he has aces, kings, or queens. It feels like he has something like ace jack suited if, you know, he was getting a little creative, or for the most part, a lot of like tens and jacks. Again, we can get those hands to fold, and if not, like I said, probably easier to go heads up and have a shot at this and use my fold equity with nearly $2,000 just dead in the middle at this point. So it's going to muster up some courage here. I don't like doing this. Some of the biggest stakes I've played in my life, but hey, when you're here with the big boys, you got to swing for the fences. I 5-bet jam all in with ace queen off. Mariano pretty quickly makes a fold here, and now we have to sweat it out against a straddle. He's thinking it over, trying to figure out if he has the right price to call, if he's getting the right odds, if he can actually be good here. Little does he know, I'm sweating bullets, and I've got ace high in a dream. After quite a bit of thinking, a few minutes pass. Luckily for us, our opponent makes the fold. Nice. Well, I mean, it goes without saying, winning $2,000 pre-flop uncontested with ace high is like awesome. Makes me feel good and significantly more confident than I did entering the session. I don't even get a chance to catch my breath as the very next shuffle we find another fun one. I look down at the number 1, pocket aces, American Airlines, from the cutoff, and I raise to 120. With the action full into the small blind, our opponent now 3-bets to $420. At this point, I now have about a $6,000 or $7,000 stack, so we've got a little bit of room to get frisky. I go and 4-bet it to $1,200. Unfortunately for us, our opponent ends up folding, so that miracle run up there we were looking for is paused just momentarily, but albeit we're happy to take down 2 solid pots back to back. The only thing I think I can say in hindsight is that maybe going a little smaller here, like a sizing of 900, makes sense. Considering our stack depth, I think it's okay, but either way, you live and you learn. At the end of the day, we took the pot down. And that will bring us to the co-main event of the evening, or at least my main event. We're playing a bomb pot, $100 a person, $800 in the pot here as there's 8 players. And we're going off to 2 flops as a double board PLO bomb pot variety. If you guys aren't familiar with a double board PLO bomb pot game, or not familiar with PLO in general, you get 4 whole cards, and you must use 2 of your whole cards with 3 of the community cards to win or make the best hand to win, as opposed to no limit holdem, where you have to use the 5 best cards, whether that's in the community only, or you can make, 4 card and 1 card flushes. If I have the ace of spades and there's 4 spades, that's a flush. That's not how it works here. I've learned that the hard way. Nonetheless, we've got some hands to go over here, and in double board PLO, the one thing that's different is that each board is equivalent to half the total pot. So it's a little tough to scoop these, but when you do, they're usually crazy massive. The 2 flops come out king 9-3 with 2 hearts, and the bottom board comes out 3 queen 6 with 2 clubs. Double flush draw here, which means double the trouble and double the equity to be had. The action checks to the cutoff, who decides to bet 100. That's Dentist Dave. You guys know him. You guys love him. Now that the action's on me on the button as I'm next to act, we get a chance to peek at our hand, and oh my goodness. Yeah. King, 6-6. We flop a double set. What? That's pretty dang good. Well, at this point, I have nothing else to do besides say pot. With the amount of equity to be had out there, straight draws, flush draws, combo draws, I mean, I'd be an absolute fool not to try to bloat the size of the pot now. The one thing you want to do in PLO, or at least I think, is that get the money in when you just have the nuts or the effective nuts, and whatever happens afterwards, just live with it. I'm not good enough to know massive strategy in these things, but hey, I'll learn and try to figure it out. But for now, we got 2 sets. It can't be that bad. We have the nuts on one board. Let's go for it. I make it $1,100 to go. Our folds to Dave, who decides to peel one off here. And we're going off to a turn card on the top board that comes a 5 of diamonds. And on the bottom board that comes out the Jack of hearts. So things are getting a little dicier here for sure, but we still have the absolute nuts on the top board. And on the bottom board, we still have a set, which, you know, can never be that bad. With the action checked over to me once again, we have nothing to do besides say the word pot. One of the coolest feelings in poker is saying pot when you just got it. $3,000 to go, and Dave is not fazed by my nonsense. He's calling once again. This freaking pot is ballooned up quite massively. With nearly $10,000 in the middle, we're going off to a river card with only about $3,000 behind. Luckily for us, the river card holds us here with nearly the nuts as it comes out the 3 of hearts, bringing in that flush draw, but also giving me top boat. And on the bottom board, it comes out the 8 of diamonds, keeping it clean as a flush draw doesn't come in, but some straights do. At this point, Dave checks it over to me, and we have nothing to do here besides go for all of it. I go all in for $3,000. Dentist Dave wastes no time before throwing in the call. I show my hand, and he shows a massive cooler as well. He shows the nut flush on the top board and 2 pair on the bottom board. Looks like we got the nut run out for us there to get the maximum of value. We go ahead and scoop a over $15,000 pot. This is what dreams are made of, baby. What a sick one. And shout out to Dentist Dave. Obviously, probably not the biggest pot he's lost in his life, I'd assume. But he took it like a champ, and that's always really cool. Well, that brings us to the main event of the evening. In this next hand, we're going to be following over 2 friends battling for it all, Mariano and Dentist Dave. We're going to be watching this hand from the bleachers, I guess, but I'll put up both opponents' hand so we have an easier time following along. Dave decides to open it up here with a suited queen. With the action over here to Mariano, he decides to 3-bet after he looks down at pocket aces. I guess it's his turn with this. It seems only fair. The action folds back to Dave, and he decides to defend with his suited queen. They're going off to a flop that comes 7-3 deuce. At this point, Mariano checks, or I should say Dave checks, and Mariano c-bets 1,200. Dave decides to float one off here with his multiple backdoor draw, and somehow he peels off one of the best cards in the deck for him as it comes the 9 of clubs. He now picks up a massive draw here, and when he checks over to Mariano one more time, Mariano throws out a bet for 1,600. Obviously looking to get some value here, targeting some middling pairs, some top pairs, and going to be looking to get value from a drawing hand like what Dave has now. Little does Mariano know that Dave is not happy with $1,600 bet, and he's a little more happier ripping his entire stack of green in there. You guys aren't familiar with the color of these chips and what the denominations are. Yeah, these 1K chips, $1,000 a pop. A $30,000 all-in from Dave here. He sticks it in the middle. He's not here to play around. I love this play. It's crazy and maybe suicidal, but this is freaking remarkable. You're going to put Mariano in his exact hand in a ridiculous bind, and you can obviously get better hands to fold. Max pressure. Dave's not here to play any games. He's an absolute sicko. Mariano definitely has to think it over, and he goes into the tank for quite some time. Not an easy call here. And after some playful banter between the boys here, Mariano eventually decides to make the call. Oh my goodness. What amasses to a nearly $70,000 or $65,000 pot amongst 2 friends. They're going off to a river card one time. Dave is looking to catch a club, and Mariano is looking to fade it. The river card comes a black 4 of spades. It's funny because Mariano still doesn't know what Dave has, and Dave pokes some fun at him and says, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry I got there." Mariano is disappointed until eventually Dave shows him the reverse slow roll as he bricks out on his draw. A massive pot going over our friend's way. If you guys like hands like this, I don't do it often. I think this is literally the first time in my entire poker vlog career that I've gone over a hand that I saw at the table, but I just thought it was so ridiculous, and I asked the boys if we should share it, and they thought it'd be a great idea. So Mariano wasn't vlogging. We would have never seen this hand, and I'm happy that the hand saw the day of light. It was pretty crazy. Well, we've got another hand to go over. It's going to be the last hand of today's session. I know it's been a quick session, not a lot to go over, but as you guys have seen, the fireworks, they've been there. Cutoff raises to 120, the button 3 bets to 300. I'm in the small blind, and we look down at Big Slick, baby. What a spot. Once again, we decide a 3-bet, or 4-bet, I should say, to 1200. At this point, I'm being pretty honest, I don't like my sizing. Going a little larger probably makes the most sense. I mean, sure, I did make it 4x, but considering there's still a cutoff player, and the other unfortunate thing is that I'm playing out of position against Dave. This is tough, you know? You saw what he did in the last hand. He could just own my soul. The cutoff folds, and Dave calls here from the button. We're out of position against one of the toughest players to play against, and the flop comes out queen 6-3. 2 spades and a club. To be quite honest, I think I'm making a mistake here. I throw out a small c-bet for 800. I down bet. Look, granted, this board is going to be pretty, you know, neutral, or I guess slightly better for me, as I'm going to have ace-queen, pocket queens, aces and kings, and it's not likely that Dave can have aces or kings or queens here, but, I mean, it's just not a great board. I don't even have a club or a spade to bluff on or look for some backdoor equity. So this is kind of a tough spot. I mean, even if we make an ace for our king, do we even know where we're at in the hand? It could just get really bloated really fast, especially against somebody like Dave. So I think, honestly, as dumb as it sounds, probably just checking is the best play. But in real time, I get 800 and the dentist calls. We're going off to a turn card that doesn't help us at all. It brings a backdoor flush draw and pairs a top card, coming to the queen of clubs. At this point, we have a very easy spot to just check fold. Although granted, our hand can still be good technically against a hand that has a ton of equity, like a pair of, or excuse me, like a hand like a flush draw. It's just not worth it. I'm gonna have to put in quite a few chips to realize that. And to be quite honest, out of position against Dave, yeah, you already heard me say it. You just gotta tip your cap off and let him know that GG's, you win. I fold, and Dave would later tell me that he had 2 pairs, so seems like we made a good fold. Unfortunate run up for us there, but still going to book one of the biggest wins of my entire life. Obviously, we had our biggest win, which is a massive one on the bike, but this is a new leaf, a new excitement. My biggest win ever this year, or at least for the last 365 days plus, and none other than my home casino, the Hustler now, or the Hustler or the Lucky Lady, either one. I love them both. Either way, so much to go over in the post-game interview. I'm excited to head over there now. Let's start a meet.
Do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy.
That is going to bring the session to a close. Wow, a really special one to say the least. Things panned out in our favor, but wow, just what a freaking sick session. It happened really quick. Honestly, we didn't even play for that long. The game broke a couple hours after we joined, but in those couple hours that we played, there was quite a bit to go through. I'm sorry if there's not a lot of post-flop play in today's session. I mean, honestly, I don't think there was a whole lot of it. I don't even know if this will end up being like a vlog, but it ended up being my biggest win, I think, in poker outside of the bike game, which was like a year ago now. So I don't know, it felt pretty special to me. Obviously we ran really well, which was pretty helpful, and in the big bomb pot we ended up just, you know, coolering off Dave, which is obviously pretty solid as well. Outside of all of that shenanigans, I don't even know how to feel. I feel really emotionally drained. Work has been really beating my butt, and today didn't really anticipate in playing this stakes of poker. If you guys didn't catch it, because I didn't really film it, we played the Max Payne Monday meetup game today, which was a freaking blast. I went all in blind 5 times in a row and lost $500, but it was fun. Hacked a couple people and that didn't really work out, but hey, we ended up winning in the game. Maybe that brought me some good run good, I don't know, but yeah, just so much going through my head right now. I'm sorry if I feel like a little discombobulated, but I don't know, I was playing with some of the biggest people in poker and they were just so splendid to be around, obviously, and poker and life is really moving at a really crazy pace right now, and I'm trying to understand and kind of come to the realization of all of that. So sorry if I feel a little underwhelming, but today was a really special day and we obviously did really well. I don't even know what the full numbers are, but I'll put them right here. A massive win. If I'm not mistaken, it's the biggest win of my life outside of the bike stream, which was obviously kind of an anomaly in and of itself. Seems like our downswing is fully over. In the month of April, we lost 1 time. We played like 11 times and we lost 1 time. Granted, the loss was bigger than my biggest win of the month, but still, it was a really solid month. So things are obviously heading in the right direction. I don't even know what else to say beyond that. I can't thank you guys enough for watching and supporting these videos. A big thanks to everyone that we were playing with today and everyone that came up and said hi at the meetup game. It was a genuine pleasure meeting everybody, and I just feel super thankful and just super grateful right now. Things have been really tough emotionally speaking, and that's why I think I'm a little in a kerfuffle here, because there's a lot going on outside of poker world and stuff like that. So it's almost uncomfortable doing as well as I did today and sitting here in front of the camera. All that being said, didn't expect to make a vlog, and I don't even know if this is going to be a vlog, but might end up being, because it was a pretty reasonable win. As you guys can see, I'm pretty much just jabbering on, and I'm sure Mike will have a great time editing all this. Outside of that, I love you guys so much. Stay happy, stay healthy, and more importantly, y'all run good at the tables. I'll see you on the flip side. Deuces.